there, welcome back to Roll With It, your BJJ and Travel podcast brought to you by Panda Odyssey and Cinemetu. This is Eva and Rob, and we have been talking about two different topics. The very first one is some requirements you might need for traveling into foreign countries, specifically visas. So, first off, Rob, welcome back. I know you've been busy working, being a grown-up.
Yeah, being back in the real world, as people say.
How's that going?
It's going all right, still rather be on the road with my backpack, but having a place to sleep in and a paycheck in the bank kind of feels nice as well. So
you working nights, right?
Yeah, nights. So
do you get to take your laptop with you and do what most night workers do, Netflix?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I got it on my phone. I got it on my phone as well, right? But yeah, the big thing is I can still hit up class. It's just now class is morning class for me, right? I wake up in time to hit up class and then get ready for work afterwards. So
I think I'll be doing that here pretty soon when I go back to the States, just because I haven't found a place to live at yet near the gym that I want to train at, and I'll have to be staying at my in-laws for a while, and their place is about an hour away from the gym, so I'll have to be doing that commute.
Yeah.
Hopefully no more than 2 weeks, but we'll see. But yeah, it'll be too much of a it's DFW, so driving a night across Dallas and Arlington, it's not the best option for you. So I'll be doing the morning classes instead. We'll see. I'm not an early bird. I hate mornings, so we'll see how that goes for me. But hopefully, I can adjust pretty good.
Yeah. It's all about adjusting to make everything flow, right?
So talking about adjusting though.
Yeah.
My last trip, right? I was pretty public with what happened, and
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember reading about that.
Yeah, I was pretty public about it. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show yet or anything, but basically what happened was I had to get a visa to get into Thailand. Apparently I applied for the wrong one, or I didn't check a box or something like that stated that I was not going to work in Thailand. So because I did not check that box off, they assumed I was gonna try to work in Thailand, and therefore my visa got denied. So then I had to go through this entire ordeal of changing my flight, which I lost tons of money on, changing all kinds of reservations.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't like a 1 day change, it was a 4 to 5 days change.
Oh, yeah.
So then I had to do a commute to Seoul. I'm about 2 hours away from Seoul, so I had to do the commute twice to do the application there at the Thai
you gotta
embassy.
go to the main embassy there, and
So that was crazy in itself. I had to pay money. I had to lose. It was intense. Thankfully, I was kind of on the chill. The more you travel, the more you learn to roll with it. The more you learn to just take it and say, oh well, okay, whatever.
Yeah, not everything always works out, right?
Right.
So.
Sometimes it might hurt a little bit more. Like I said, I lost a lot of money trying to do all that change. It got to the point where I was almost like, you know what, I should probably just not go. Try to stay put for a little bit longer and try to recoup some money, like by either doing classes or something. But at the end I'm just gonna push through it. I already have my bags packed. I already have other reservations made that if I had canceled at that point, I would have just lost even more money and not even had the trip. So, but with that story being said, I want to talk about visas. We talk a lot about preparations, like packing, what kind of, how much clothes to take, whether you take a suitcase or a backpack, and but something we haven't really touched is the legal part of preparing.
Yeah, but you kind of forget, like, part of traveling the world is that you are traveling between borders a lot. And if you spend a lot of time in Europe, you can kind of forget that you're doing that, right? Because
Right.
especially when you're right in like Central Europe, with you all the borders are kind of open, so you can just like drive through. And you know, like when I was in Germany, the Germany-Austria border, it's literally just a sticker that they put on their car window, and that's it, kind of thing. Um, yeah, and then you get overseas, like over to like Southeast Asia. In some places, you realize you're like, oh, there's a whole process of paperwork and paying money, and yeah. So there's always something to look up. Look up your country's passport or visa um, statuses with different countries. I know
So
with Canada we have an actual site.
mhm.
There's a government site, and it shows you the up to date statuses with all the different countries and what we would need to do for them. So
So something I want to mention is you don't always know right off the bat which country you might need it,
no.
because when I bought my ticket to go to the ticket to go to Thailand, the first one I bought out of Korea, it didn't notify me that I needed a visa. The one that notified me was I flew from Chiang Mai to Phuket, and
Okay.
as a matter of fact, I didn't even buy that ticket. My sister bought it for me. So she's the one that told me, like, hey, I just got an email saying when I bought the ticket, it said, visa required. She's like, do you need one? And I had no clue at that point, but I said, well, let me check real quick. Now, I am a Mexican citizen residing in America. So all my stuff, yeah, most of my stuff is going to be anytime I have to cross an international border, I have to use my Mexican passport. So the rules applied to me are always going to be the Mexican ones until I become an American citizen.
Okay.
So for those listening,
yeah, that's much different, right? Yeah.
Right. So for those listening, and I have to provide all sorts of documentation because of that, because I am that, I have to, whatever they call, so I have to identify myself a little bit more. Yeah. Right. Well, I don't have dual citizenship. Yeah. I'm a Mexican citizen.
Not yet.
Not yet. Right. Not yet.
Yeah.
But for those listening that didn't know this, realize that I'm not talking about the American passport. So some of these might not apply to you, but these are for the Mexican passport. So I right away looked it up and realized, yeah, sure enough, I need a visa to go into the country. So I went through the channels and did the application. Now, for most countries, you can apply right online, and it's really easy. You put in your passport information, you put in why you're going, which most of the time is tourism, and you pay their fee. Sometimes 3 days later, a week later, or whatnot, you'll receive an email back stating you have obtained the visa. So you don't always need something in paper. It's just whenever you show up, they'll pull you up in the system when they scan your passport, and you'll see it. So Thailand, y'all heard the story in the beginning. That's what happened. When I went to Australia as well, we didn't know either. We just bought our ticket. It wasn't until...
You can do it all online with Australia, though. And actually, my friend, now, I mean, this is a Canadian citizen, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't know, and he showed up, and he just did it there, like when he arrived. So they're not as strict as some places, I don't think.
The Australian one?
They do have, but they do have some paperwork that you do have to do online at least.
Okay, so that I don't know. Maybe that's just for, and this is what we're saying. You have to look up
Yeah.
your country because, see, for me, I had to apply online. It said I had to have the
Yeah.
visa prior to entrance, and I actually had a hard copy that was mailed to me. So for me, I had to apply it
Okay.
about 3 months in advance. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah, I had to
Yeah. For
apply
me,
it.
I just did it online, and I had the email, and that was it.
Well,
And actually, so sorry. I'll let you finish your thing. I gotta tell you something about Australia. It's really funny.
so I had to apply online and it was about 3 months ahead of time, and I did not receive. It was myself and my aunt who both have Mexican passports, and then the rest of the crew that was going had American. So like my sister and her boyfriend and my wife, they all got their visas within days. I mean, almost like within that for not even a week. It didn't even take a week, I think, for them to get their stuff approved. Now, on the other hand, my aunt and myself, we didn't get our visa approved email till 2 days before the trip. Talk about freaking out, because that was even a more expensive trip. So
Yeah.
we were freaking out because we're like, okay, so the trip's coming up. We haven't gone it. We finally got it. And then there was another ordeal with Canada, by the way. Your people almost screwed us over. But go ahead and tell me your story, and then I'll continue telling you the Canadian one.
We don't sue anyone over, but we're nice. No, so my friend, he went to Australia. I think he went before I even left for the Odyssey, and he told me about that. How he didn't know. He just like bought a ticket and he showed up. And as he got there, they're like, "Where's your your visa?" He's like, "A visa for what?" Right? And I think this is his first time like traveling outside of Canada, right? And he just got it there, did it there at the time, right? And paid them there and did it, and had no problem. But when you look online, you talk to some people, there's it says, yeah, you have to get a visa before you go to Australia. And it did that, right? You can do it all online. It's really simple. There's a lot of places actually you can do that all online. And so I did that, and I meet up with my Australian friends in San Diego. We train for a week there at University of Jiu-Jitsu, and then we take off, go back to Australia, right? So I land in Perth, and when I got to Perth, my phone died, right? And I'm getting off the plane and going through the passport, check, and they're like, so you're here just for like seeing your friend, but you don't have his address. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't have his contact information on my declaration you have to sign, because my phone died. And I'm like, look, like, if you scan my passport, you'll see I have a visa. I don't have the information on who I'm staying with because it's on my phone, and my phone has died. Like, if you just let me go somewhere to charge my phone, and I'm like, but I'm sure he's outside waiting for me if you want to go, right? So basically, I just showed up with nothing more than my Canadian passport, saying, hey, I'm here to meet a friend. He's going to take me to his place, but I don't know where that is, right?
Jesus.
And they're like, okay. And just like let me go through, right? I was like, and I told the guys there, I'm like, yeah, I didn't have any information that I had, like proof that I wasn't going to be working here and that I was going to be leaving. So I didn't have a exit ticket yet at that time either, right?
Oh, okay,
And
I see.
yeah, so there's no proof really that I was only there for a short while and that I wasn't there to work illegally and all this stuff, right? And but she was like, okay, we'll let you go. And even the guys that I met up with were like, oh, glad to see our security is so going so well,
Sometimes you do question it. Like, sometimes certain countries might be really, really strict, or even certain airports, and then the next one is, like what's the point of even having an airport? What's the point of even going through security? Because you didn't, you know, I don't know. I'm the one that always gets pulled over at TSA because I forgot I had a pocket knife, or, you know, the scans look like, what the fuck is she bringing over, you know?
I always get scanned because of my tattoos and stuff, right? Like, I don't look like a nice person when I'm going through the airport. So they will stop me and search me quite often.
You know, but, they always say those things are random, but I don't. Yeah.
Like, as far as passports go, I haven't had any problems with that. Whenever I have it in order, right?
Well,
when I actually go through. Yeah. Well, okay. Actually, India, I ended up spending a lot of money in Abu Dhabi. I stayed in Abu Dhabi for a stayover for a day, and I was supposed to fly over to, where was I going? I think I was going to Burma, to Myanmar, to Yangon, the capital there. And but I had some cheap, you know, connection flights that I bought online through some third party, and so my connection was in India, and they're like, we would have no problem to send you along, to let you board, like, with the airline I'm trying to get on with in Abu Dhabi. Right? They're saying like that we would have no problem with that if you had a visa for India. I'm like, well, why do I need a visa for India? And because I was switching airlines, that means I had to go and get my luggage and go through security there, which technically means I am now visiting India, is what they're saying. Now I've looked this up, and I've read online that apparently you can get a short-term visa on arrival for just that, for your connections in India, but they weren't having that, right? I didn't have that information at the time to show them that, so that is another thing, right? For connections, if you're doing connections, make sure
those are the ones that get you.
Yes, because that's what got me, and I ended up having to spend almost an extra $1,000 because now I had to book a flight that didn't go through India to get to my destination, and I had everything booked already. So if I waited, then I would have lost my stay at the hostel, or
So now I feel a little bit better about the Canadian story, knowing that you had to spend that much money. No, I'm kidding, but maybe a little bit. Because listen, so we're going to Australia right now. For me, this wasn't a deal personally with me. It was my aunt, who, remember, she also has a Mexican passport. So I was flying from Germany, and anyway, she was flying from DFW, from Dallas, and the ticket we bought, her and my sister and her boyfriend, they were all flying from DFW to Toronto, I believe, and then from there over to Australia. Why? I have no freaking clue, but that's what happened. So
oh yeah, no, it's weird how it does that. I did the same thing.
Right. So I can't remember now exactly how it. Okay, so here's what happened. They were flying from DFW to Toronto, from Toronto to LAX, and then Australia. And when she's trying to check in, they tell her, "Where's your visa?" And she goes, "Oh, here it is." So she's showing them the Australian one, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, so where's the Canadian one?" And she was like, "Canadian?" And then my sister's also freaking out at the moment because they haven't checked in. They're right behind her. So she's like, didn't realize I needed one for Canada. And they're like, "Yeah." And she's like, "But I'm not staying there. It's just a connecting flight." And they're like, "Right, so you still need one." And she's like, "Okay, well, can I, how do I get it? Can I get it upon arrival or what?" They're like, "No, you had to get it prior to." So then, they're calling me. It's like the middle of the night for me. I'm also packing because I'm about to fly out as well. So we're all freaking out because, we travel as a pack. We don't leave one behind.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm calling, my friends in Australia, asking them like, hey, is this legit? Like, can I not, what's going on? They're like, well, I don't know, girl. Like, that's Canada, not Australia. And I'm like, fuck, you're right. So.
yeah. I recently read up about this too. That there is a bit of a thing going on with Canada and Mexico, and actually a lot of places down south because of that, right? I think the border was more open for people to be traveling down south, but Canada was kind of, I think we were introducing visas for them. So now, like if you go down to, I think like a lot of the places down south, like if I was to go, I think was I going to go Honduras or I forget, but it was like there's places now that even if it's not like a full visa that you need to get, it's an extra entry fee. So because there is a that fee for getting the visa to go to Canada, Canadians have to go when going down there have to pay a fee when showing up.
I think this has a lot to do with the middle country. What stands between you and me in Mexico. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite know what you're talking about there. That sounds like a lot of Southern politics that I don't.
It sounds for me. It sounds a lot of confusion between hot dogs and tacos. But anyway, so point is, she couldn't fly to Canada. We had to get her a whole other ticket, which cost us a whole other like $1,200, and all just to connect her from DFW to LAX, where again she met up with my sister and her boyfriend. Even though it was going to be the same flight that she was going to take from LAX, we still had to buy a whole other seat, like a whole other ticket, because we had to avoid the part that connected her to Canada. So now, finally we all made it to Australia. We had a fantastic time. It was great. And so, Canada, apparently Mexicans, we need a visa for it. So, I'm flying back to America in about 2.5 weeks. Then I'm going straight to Mexico for, another excursion, just another trip. I come back to America for 2 weeks. Then I go back to Germany for a week. I'll be in Germany for a week. So anybody out there that wants to hang out, train, do something, I'll be over there. And the cheapest flight I'm finding, they all have a layover in Canada. So now I know, even though it's a layover, I am going to apply for the visa. Even though, when you look at the website, it says that if it's a connecting flight, you just they're supposed to put something on your passport and on your suitcases that says, I forget the proper term now. I forgot it. But it's supposed to should
have something saying it's being connected, right?
Right. It's supposed to say
the same airline, right?
Right. So it's supposed to say something like it's just a connecting flight. Therefore, I do not need a visa, but I'm still gonna apply for it because it is a 10-hour. The first one is a 10-hour layover, and I think the second one's like a 15-hour. So I mean, I figure I'm there for 10-15 hours. I might as well leave the airport. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't sat down.
In Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might as well go down. Well, I mean, it's winter here, right? So if you want to go see some snow, but you can. There's things you can see in that time, I guess. Head down, go to the Sky Dome. I'm not found CN Tower.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea. I've been recently getting more and more interested in Canada. I want to go and explore that, your country. But for now, that's what's going on. And so anyway, we had that, right? The visas. Whenever you're planning a trip, you have to make sure you look into that country. Does my passport, my citizenship passport, or my international passport require a visa to enter that country?
Yeah. No. Yeah, and the big thing about that too is um, the, your destination, like where you're going to, and your connecting flights. So those countries you're switching at, you're landing down in, they can all have different visas. Um, so it can be something simple that you just get on arrival. You know, you fill out some paperwork and pay a fee, and that's it. Um, or it can be something a bit more involved,
Right.
like
More
like
preparations.
when yeah, like Russia is not a quick easy visa to get, right? So that's the one visa I have that took the most work is to get the Russian visa.
And some of them
Um,
are just for money. They have nothing. I think the
yeah,
Australia visa is a little bit more for safety and just really trying to vet who's going in the country. Um, but then the one I had to get in Egypt, which this one was for both Americans and Mexicans.
that's for
Um,
everyone. Yeah,
yeah, so uh, that one wasn't so much. That one wasn't so much about vetting. That was just more about money. Because I remember we got there, and you literally go to the bank area. They tell you just go to the bank right here, and that's it. You pay however much their fee is going to be that day for you, and then
yeah,
they just slap a big sticker on your passport, and that's it. That's your stamp pretty much. Um,
yeah. Same with Cambodia as well. They did the same thing. Cambodia, you show up, and it's like I think it's 50 US, but they're so it's 50 US or whatever it is in local currency. I had neither. They have a cash. They have an ATM there that only gives out 100 US like bills.
mm-hmm.
So then you need to break the bill. Well, what do you know? The guy just happens to be like $5 short, right? So when he breaks the bill for you, and then you go and you pay, and you don't. It's 45, but you only have you only have enough to pay 50 or something like that, and he keeps that extra five. So then they scam an extra $10 out of you, right?
Mm.
Um, and then that fee you pay was literally just for that sticker in your book to say, I'm here for this long, and that's it.
Mm. Yeah, so I'm trying to plan one more trip before I leave Korea in the next, so I'm kind of pushing it, but it's either Vietnam or Cambodia. And me personally, I need a visa for both. I don't know about the American one. I haven't checked it out yet, but
Pretty sure everyone does. Pretty sure everyone does for those. Like everyone, you either have to do an online thing or you pay it on arrival. But
mm,
pretty much every for Vietnam and Cambodia, I'm pretty sure everyone has to pay.
mm-hmm.
That's when I went to both, and both places it seemed to be the case. Everyone had to go in Vietnam. I did the online paperwork, printed out the paper just to make sure, and then when I got to the airport there in Ho Chi Minh, um, the off to the side from the main lines is where you get your visa on arrival,
Mm-hmm.
and I got scammed out of like $10 or more because they ask for it's not in the form you print out. There's nowhere in there to say have a passport photo. They want when you show up, they ask you for a passport photo, and if you don't have one, well, the girl takes a picture of you, and you pay her for it, right? But here's the thing: that photo never shows up on your visa. It's like so you have to pay her like $10 for her to take a picture of you, and it's supposed to be a printing fee, but they never print it. It stays on their phone, on their computer, right? It's not. So you're like, why? What? This makes no sense, right? But yeah.
So that was gonna be my next suggestion. Always have those small passport photos with you. Just have a couple.
Yeah.
Now this is. I mean, I think you should have them regardless. But if you are doing a world trip, get them, have them with you at all times. Have an extra copy of, your passport. Have an extra copy of important IDs, and just keep them in a secure place, whether it's in your suitcase or your backpack. Now, don't check them in. If you're gonna check in a suitcase, don't check it in. Keep it with you in your laptop bag or whatever you have. But always have them handy.
Yeah.
I had
several photocopies of my passport, and I would always have that on me when traveling, and try and use that. If ever they say, well, we need your passport, then like to keep it, right? I always ask them, like, hey, can I just give you my photocopy, because that's my ID. I'm traveling. Because a lot of times they don't really need your passport, they just need the information on it, but they want to keep your passport as like collateral, right? So
I don't trust those either. I don't really like it. I can't remember, where was it? Barcelona, I think, or
Barcelona, anywhere in Southeast Asia that wants you. Like, did you rent a scooter or anything in Thailand? They want your passport as well, right? And you kind of just want, you don't just give some place, it's a little garage in a corner that throws your passport in their desk drawer, right? And you're like, oh, I don't know. But that seems to be the way it goes.
In Thailand, we rented a car, and they kept one of our passports. Now, the funny part was that we all thought they had mine, and they didn't. They actually had my sister's, I think. So that was already a big screw up on us, because we always kept all three together, and I think at that time, it was her boyfriend that had it. So he handed it over, and we thought it was mine for some. Was it mine? No. So I was gonna be driving as well, so we had to keep mine and his, because just in case we get pulled over.
Whoever's driving needs the idea. Yeah.
So we thought he handed in hers, and when we got, at the end of our stay there, and we were gonna return the car, and we asked for it back, they actually handed over mine, and we're like, what happened? He's like, oh, I guess I just gave him the wrong one. I'm like, dude, there's 2 Americans and 1 Mexican. But so thankfully, I actually ended up not driving, because you're on the opposite side of the road, opposite. Everything's the opposite. So it was once one gets used to it, I feel like just let that person keep driving. We kind of did the mistake in Australia where we all wanted to drive, so we all kept taking turns, and once one person was getting used to it, then we would switch, and it was like, here we go again, starting over with people merging on, and it was a bit of a hassle. But anyway, point is, we handed over the wrong passport. We didn't even know, and I thought about it, and I said, besides this one time, I've given my credentials to somebody because we rented a scooter or something like that it was Barcelona in Spain, and the guy requested we leave our ID with him.
Yeah, a lot of places will. A lot of places will do that.
So I had to.
What's the most involved visa have you had to fill out?
The most involved, I would say the Australian one, because the Thailand was just kind of a mistake. Like, there was just mistakes that happened.
Yeah.
So I believe it would have been a lot easier.
But I mean, like there's a lot of ones you can do online, and there's a lot of ones you can do on arrival. But I mean, have you ever had to do one where like you had to send away your passport and do like a full like huge paperwork of like for the one for Russia, I had to send away my passport to like the embassy here in Canada, and I had to have invitation letters from both the hostels that I'm staying at, the exact dates and places I'm going to, and
Like a full itinerary.
Oh yeah, and references and you know, um, like a whole background check, right? Like that was the whole thing was I'm ex-military, and here I am telling them I had to put that down that I'm ex-military, like they want to know where you've been for the last 10 years and all this stuff. Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was like getting a government job. And China is the same. But so with Russia, you can do it. You can apply within 6 months of your travel, whereas China has to be within 60 days of your travel, right?
And but see, the one in China, for me, it was just upon arrival. Like, and literally, I think that was also just pay, and then I was sent free into the country.
Well, where were you though?
Shanghai.
Because if you were you just staying in Shanghai?
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's the tourist arrival visa. Same with like Hong Kong is completely different, right, from the rest of China. But if you want to travel outside of Shanghai, then you need to have like a full visa showing what provinces you're going to. Yeah, there's like a whole tier of different visas you can get for China, but you can only apply within 6 days of going there. And then so I applied to Russia, and you have to because you can apply within 6 months. I did that, and then I needed to follow up with an essay basically of why it is I'm applying so far in advance. Right? It's like because you allow me to. That's why. But yeah. So that's another thing to look into is all the other information you need. Like I looked up that stuff before I started leaving, right before I started the whole odyssey, to see what places would be more involved for visas. Like a lot of the places over in Southeast Asia you need a visa for, but they're all kind of like on arrival or online. But there's a few places where, like India, where you need a bit more of a paperwork for it. So you need to have more information, right? You need to have that passport photo. You need to have letters of invitation from either the person you're staying with or the hostel you're staying at or hotel, right? Yeah. So there's a
the Thai visa ended up turning out like that for me. From the beginning, I did have to turn in a copy of my itinerary and showing everything I was going to be doing. But once I had to go into the embassy and apply personally, they actually kept my passport with them. So that's why I lost that many days, because they had to keep it. They had to send it somewhere, and then they got it back. I don't know. Anyways, and I also needed a copy. Like I need to make copies of it, of the passport, of my visas.
Yeah.
I needed to give pictures. So that's why I say, if somebody's planning a trip, especially a long-term trip around the world where you're not going to be going back to your home country, you're just going to be hopping from country to country, you might want to keep copies of all these things, and those pictures are really important, because like Rob, you just mentioned, you paid this person to take a picture of you, but then they didn't even give it to you. You had no proof that what you paid for was actually what they needed. They just,
Yeah. Then for the Russian visa, because it was so involved, I went through a third party in Ottawa, like in our capital. so that they could deal with the embassy themselves and kind of show me exactly what I need, right? So I went and showed up to them and had this big stack of papers that I needed, and ends up you only need like half of it for the actual application. So, but yeah, it was it's a something like that. It's a really involved. There's a lot of work to do, kind of thing, right? To get all the information and have it all.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, because I did that Russian visa before I left, I had that in mind for the rest of my travels. So yeah, I had passport photos with me. I had um, photocopies of my passport. I actually had PDFs, like pictures of my passport on my laptop.
I kind of,
So I could send,
I kind
because
of,
you have to send some.
yeah.
You have to send those. Yeah, you have to send those to
Mm-hmm.
some visas. They want your yeah. So
I kind
you
of
know,
wish things were a little bit easier with certain countries, like my country. Um,
yeah,
just
yeah,
especially like going up north, going from to the states. I am a resident, so I don't need any other visas to enter America. Obviously, I mean my visa itself, because I live there and I have resided there for so long, it's even more expensive. I have to pay tons of money every. Well, before it was every 2 years. Now it's every. I don't even know. That's why I'm contemplating on this. Just becoming a citizen. Also, because every time I cross the border, they ask me why I haven't become one. But it's just. And then going up to Canada, another visa, another vetting. I
yeah,
feel I'm not sure what's the reason behind all these visas specifically in that part of the world. Uh, I wish it was a little bit more like Europe, where you can cross borders and you know it's so simple there. Um, but I do wish we had that open border kind of thing. I think what
yeah.
I think what's
Like
messing
what
us up,
Europe has.
right? I think what's messing us up, is, with those three countries, is everything that falls below Mexico.
Well, yeah. Well, it's all on the relation of the countries themselves, right? With their how they're like what's the North American free trade, the NAFTA or whatever. Yeah. Uh, if my place of choice to run away to and retire would probably be Cambodia, because the money, I think money stretches even farther over there in Cambodia. So,
Is that
and I can
a
eat too.
is it a very modern country? I haven't been there yet, so I don't know much about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the cities, right? You go and put on Pen, and you go to Siem Reap. You know, they have modern amenities and everything there, right? I mean, there's still a lot of that country that is, still being rebuilt, and there are still places that they say stay away from
What you see,
those
like,
fields.
I guess it would just depends on what you're looking for, because, um,
It's a
you're
very beautiful country.
well, yeah, and so is Mexico, and you have
Yeah,
Mexico's in that middle of. It's not necessarily third world. You know what I mean? It's right in the
yeah,
middle.
yeah, yeah.
So you have a lot of riches and a lot of, I mean, artists go to Mexico to make it there first. Like um, Ricky Martin, or I don't know. There's a lot. Anyway, point is, get your visas. um,
Going on this political tangent, but yeah, there is like, and that's the whole thing. The whole reason behind the the visas, right, is that there's all kinds of different political things going on between different countries. So there are actually, that's another thing that reminds me. If you are traveling over to Asia somewheres, or Middle East, some places, Africa, Northern Africa, some places, um, really look into their visa requirements, because there are some countries that will not allow you, even if you do all the proper paperwork, will not allow you to enter if you're coming from or had just stayed in within the last year or so in another country that they're not friends with, right?
Right. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
we just had Ana Yaguez on our show a couple of weeks ago,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we actually talked about that because her partner had gone to had traveled to Iran, I believe, and
yeah,
then this past summer they planned a trip to go to America. So, in the process of doing that, um, which by the way, he has a German passport. So if you guys want to look up your German passport visa requirements for countries
yeah,
such, you know, um, go ahead and do that because this is like one specific instance. I don't know if you're always required to have a visa to enter the U.S., but he had to go through a different process, I believe, or a different type of application because his first one um, was he needed extra vetting because he had gone to Iran,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that
There's a list of countries for U.S. that if you've entered them, then such a date that you have to extra vetting. Luckily, because I didn't, I only stayed at the Abu Dhabi airport. It didn't come up as me actually being in the country,
mm-hmm.
so I didn't. I just showed up to in the U.S. and didn't have any problems with that. But um, I know I think it was India that says that if you go to Iran or Pakistan, um, that you can't go from there to them or whatever. Um, or was it? Oh, Belarus. I was going to go to Belarus, and and it ends up I couldn't go to Belarus. I couldn't enter Belarus on a on arrival visa because I was coming from Moscow. So if I was entering Belarus from, you know, Eastern, Western Europe, like going in from, who's next to them? Is it Ukraine? Anyways. So if I was coming in from the west, I could go into Belarus no problem. Um, but because I was flying in from Russia, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't allowed and on arrival visa. So I found that out last minute. That was good. Um, and then I ended up spending more money because what I did was I couldn't, I even canceling the flight. I'm still like I only got like a little bit back. Like I got maybe $20 back from canceling it, but I had to rebook the ticket. It was the exact same ticket now, just connecting to Ukraine.
Mm.
to Kiev, and I was like, really? I just bought that ticket twice, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's another thing to look into um, on passports is what conditions you're allowed to enter and exit. You know, so
It's a bit of a research, but
yeah,
believe me, you rather spend that extra hour, half an hour, looking into where you're going than and where
yeah,
you're coming from. Just to make sure that, like you said, the conflicting countries, but
yeah,
than to have to change an entire booking and or you might not even be able to get into that country, so you're losing reservations, flights, all kinds of stuff. So
oh yeah,
um,
yeah,
this is all in to make sure you guys don't you know lose money.
yeah.
Essentially,
Lose
that's what
less
it is.
money.
That I mean, yeah, that
Yeah,
is what it is. At the end of the day, you're losing money. So
yeah,
money's
and
tangible, but still.
yeah, and I mean, like your trip to Thailand, I mean, it was a big pain in the ass to get it all correct. But from the pictures, it all looked like you had an amazing experience, right?
It
Um,
was. I
and then
really enjoyed it.
yeah. So, it would be even better if you didn't have this kind of blemish as the start of it, right? Um, same with my experiences, any kind of bad experiences I had with the passports, dealing with getting the visas and all that stuff. It just comes down to it being like it's just a little um, twist in the road, right? So yeah, and I mean, and it's not going to stop me from going there and having a great experience. It is something, though, I can use now to tell people, hey, look out for these things. Really research these visa requirements for entering different countries you want to go see.
Yep, exactly. So look into it. Keep your copies. Be diligent with your requirements and your traveling and all that stuff. Man, I thought this was gonna be a short topic, but the experiences vary and the requirements vary, and we're just trying to put out as much information as possible for those nice wishing.
Yeah, the way Europe is a lot of fun, but is it something that can be sustainable across the world at this current time and whatnot?
Highly unlikely.
That's another story, another day, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and these thoughts are coming from somebody who loves to travel. So for me, it's a dream because it would make traveling so much easier. But
yeah,
I'd rather be safe than sorry. I guess I should say that. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I guess the vetting and the visas, it all, in most places, it all serves a better purpose. A higher, greater purpose. But so we'll save the next topic for another time, and I want to discuss more of this competitions and all kinds of more political in jiu-jitsu world.
Oh, yeah, the politics in jiu-jitsu, yes, everyone's favorite subject,
right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll try to keep it light and easy on that one, but until then, you gotta roll with it. Roll with the punches. Roll with the travel. Keep traveling, people. Rob, thank you very much for making time. It's always great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be, doing the show with you.
Definitely. And have a good day at work. I know you're about to head into work, so we'll go ahead and say bye to everybody. And go and pack your lunch, dude.
Yeah. All right. Later, folks. Roll with it.